Alright, we're live. Okay. So this is gonna be a history stream where we talk about like all different types of history from all types of periods, like small, like obscure and known, basically. Like Pope Siricius, George Washington, stuff like that. So we are here at the stream today, and we are gonna just be streaming for, let's say, maybe 30 or 40 minutes. But we're just going to be talking about like different types of history today. There's no one in chat. Oh, there's someone. Hello. I hope you guys days are going well. But basically, we're going to be talking about all different types of history today. Okay. So let me find a good background. No. What's a good background? Ooh, this, yeah. This is the tortured witches painted in around 1590. Folter von Hexen is what it's called.
Oh, wow.
But we're going to be talking about, like, how different history today. Alright. How did George I become king? Basically, Queen Anne, she had a lot of pregnancies, but only one survived, and that being William. And he did die when he was like 12, I think, from an unknown cause. I'm recording. Whoever, turn that down. But basically, Queen Anne had a lot of pregnancies, and only one kid survived, William. And basically, he died young at only 12. And Anne was devastated at that. And she did her reign without any heir. So when she died, there was a succession crisis, and George became king, basically. Alright, let's check the chat. Let's check the chat. Are there any videos on Pope Leo the 14th? Not yet. I should be making videos on, since there's a lot of interesting stuff about him. So, like, so far, basically. Who is Pope Siricius? Pope Siricius was the 38th Pope. And he was the first one to sign papal degrees. Like, there was these, like, I think 12 things on the papal degree, basically. He was the first one to sign degrees, basically. Alright. As you can chat. See if we'll have any new viewers. Just checking if we'll have any new viewers. Yo! What's up, River963? What's up, River963? We're just talking about different types of history right now. That's basically what we're doing. Who is Albert VII? Albert VII was the Archduke of Austria in the late 1500s. And funnily enough, he was also a cardinal and high-ranking one in the Catholic Church. And he might have become the Pope had he not resigned his commission to marry Isabella Clara, the daughter of Philip II. That's what it is, basically. That's who Albert VII is. Do you think, is it wrong that Charlotte Corday killed Jean-Paul Marat? Yes. I think so, at least. If you guys don't know, Jean-Paul Marat was the famous writer in the French Revolution. Who made some really famous publications. And the story is, Jean-Paul Marat had this skin condition that kept him confined to a bathtub. And He couldn't barely go anywhere. And Charlotte could aid. What she did is, she went to the tub, and stabbed him with a knife. And she thought that would end the French Revolution. And she was completely wrong at that. She was completely wrong. It made him a martyr.
She was completely wrong.
And she was executed for that. She was completely just executed. If you could visit any historical era from one day, which would you pick and why? Ooh, that's a good question. Any era. Any era. That's it. I didn't think of that. Like I haven't thought of that before. Like there's like a good any historical era. I'll probably pick some like classical antiquity because of some cool stuff like Socrates and Aristotle and Plato writing, or globalization, which is basically the 1990s. Those are some like eras I would choose. If you had to live in the Middle Ages, what job do you think you'd end up with? Probably a writer. Probably a writer, or at least some in the Catholic Church. Which historical event would have been the funniest live stream? That's which historical event would be live streamed? Yeah, which would be the funniest live stream? I'd say. Yo, what's up, Rivik? How's your day been? Probably the Emu War. The Emu War is hilarious. Like live streaming soldiers with machine guns, and then the emus win. Or probably Newton. Newton sticking the needle in his eye in the 1660s, because he wanted to understand optics, so he shoved the needle between his eye and bone. The chat would be like, "What the flip are you doing?" But if I had to pick one, the Emu War. Got it. Definitely the Emu War. That's who I'd pick. Why did Reagan give that his tear down this wall speech? He gave that speech in 1987 because he wanted to basically challenge the Soviets' control on Berlin, and push Gorbachev towards political openness, basically, because the Berlin Wall was the symbol of Soviet oppression, because it stood for like over 20-some years, and it separated families and stuff. And Reagan wanted to Reagan wanted to push the Cold War toward an end. He wanted the Cold War to end. And he said, "Mr. Gorbachev, tear down this wall." It was cool. Alright. What else is the people gonna talk about? Yeah, Reagan was a cool historical figure. Give some advice on Louise Marie. Which one? Which one? There's like many Louise Maries in France. The mother, Louis Philippe. Oh, Louise Marie Adelaide de Bourbon. Yeah. She was one of the richest noblewomen in France before the French Revolution. And when the French Revolution, her husband voted on the execution of King Louis XVI. And her husband was executed during the French Revolution, and she got exiled. Yeah, that's a pretty interesting figure. I'm just trying to find.
Hey, Mom. Mom.
Sorry, I didn't know why I was muted, but the Emu War. That's what the that's muted. The Emu War was this call to cull emus in Australia because the emus had been eating all the crops, so they called the military. And the emus won. Is it true the Roman guy said, "I hold in the folds of my toga both peace and war, which I let drop, and the elements say whichever one you want"? Yes, that's actually true. They did. They actually said that, which is really funny. Like, you're the aggressor. Hand Hannibal over to us as a criminal so we can punish him. No, yes, no, yes. Look, I hold in the folds of my toga both peace and war. Which one should I let drop? Whichever one you want. Then I choose war. The Second Punic War had begun. Like, that's the start of the Second Punic War. Like, that's how it started, because of a Hannibal. Alright, I'll explain it. It was a war between Rome and Carthage. Two empires fighting over the Mediterranean. And Hannibal Barca, one of the greatest military generals in history. They had already fought once in the First Punic War, and Carthage lost. And Hannibal decided to get revenge, and by attacking a Roman allied city in Spain. Instead of attacking the Rome by the sea, he did the most dramatic thing possible and marched an army, and elephants. It's like saying, I'm gonna invade America by walking over the Rocky Mountains of the zoo. It had freezing temperatures, avalanches, tribes. Most of the elephants passed, but Hannibal's arrived in Italy. There were 3 major battles that Hannibal won. Hannibal didn't win the war, though. Rome won somehow. Why didn't Napoleon take the crown from Pie? Oh, Friendly has I've asked this of Friendly History before. This is inspired by Friendly Neighborhood History, basically. Napoleon was in the middle of getting crowned by Pope Pius VII. He takes the crown from the Pope's hands and puts it on his own head, and takes the second one and puts it on Josephine's head, his wife, or I think it was his wife. I don't remember. But it's an incredible moment. It's an incredible moment in history because he did it in 1804 when the Pope was always there to do the ceremony. It means that the church grants the authority. And it was a political message. He's basically saying, my power comes from myself, not from the church, not from tradition, not from the Pope. And France had just gone the revolution. And Napoleon did arrest Pius VII, where he died in captivity. That's what happened. It was a really cool moment, which would have been cool to see live, but that's besides the point, though. Let's see, what's in the chat? What is in there? What caused the American Revolution? The colonists were frustrated with the taxes, like the Stamp Act, Sugar Act. It was about the idea that people should have a say in their government that they wanted, basically. Why did the Industrial Revolution start in Britain? Britain had coal, iron, money, and huge demand in goods. New inventions like the steam engine transformed work, city, society, the moment the modern world began, basically. What started World War I? The assassination of Archduke Franz Ferdinand. Assassination of the Archduke. Fun fact. When there were 2 other assassination attempts on that road. The first 2 chickened out. One of them threw a bomb at the car and it bounced off. And the one where he actually was killed. When they turned on that road, Ferdinand was like, no, not this road. And then they shot and murdered him. Why did Francis die? A stroke. It was a stroke. How did the civil rights movement succeed? Through protests and leaders like Martin Luther King Jr. and millions of people every day. It had a lot. It changed a lot about how Americans thought about justice and like rights for black people and stuff like that. Sorry, no one else in chat. I'm just gonna talk about just some stuff that I know. Do you know about the top 1,252,802 people stream? Yes, of course. Everyone on YouTube knows about that. It was a 58-day live stream by Spot420. It was an actual stream of about 1 million people. A lot of people were ranked in the millions, like Muhammad, Chris Tallman, LeBron James, Muhammad Ali, Ronaldo, Messi. They didn't even break the million. Prince Harry didn't make the million. Crispus didn't make the millions. A lot of people didn't make millions. were like in the 9,000 or the 900,000s, like Kanye and Chumlee. Chumlee. That's a funny nickname. But Ramesses, oh, I love him. Ramesses II was the third pharaoh of the 19th dynasty. Born in around 303 BC, became king in around 25, and reigned when he was 90 in 1200 BCs, which a long life for that time period when people normally died at their 40s. Though some people did live to their 60s and 70s, but 90 was like. And he built a lot of construction throughout Egypt and Nubia. Some of his famous monuments include the columnar statues of Ramesses. He was also one of the first pharaohs to also include his wife in statues too, but he also did a lot of him, and he had like over 90 children. I'm pretty sure. Yes, I'm pretty sure though. I wonder if anyone else is going to chat. We've been streaming for only 20 minutes. Well, I have good history so far. I'm just gonna wait. What am I typing? If people want to know what I'm typing, it's just a notepad. I'm just collecting thoughts. Why did an African emperor cause a global economic crisis in the 300s? I'm trying to think. I think his name was Mansa Musa. He was the richest person in recorded history. He bought a cavern of thousands of people, thousands of slaves, camels carrying gold. And he handed out so much gold that the value dropped and the prices went inflation, just like today, which the world's crap. But it's one of the only times where a single person caused inflation around multiple countries. Yeah, like that's crazy. First Battle of Koban. Oh, First Battle of Koban. The First Battle of Koban. It was a World War I battle during 1916 between supported by German and Ottoman units against a Romanian-Russian army defending the area, basically. Who fought in it? It's Bulgaria, the German Empire, and the Austrian Empire. Or Ottoman Empire, I mean. Sorry. The river waterships was the coolest part. It was heavily armored gunboats. Who won? It ended in a tactical victory that didn't destroy the Bulgarian army, but it forced Central Power until in the middle of October.
Hey.
It's pretty cool.
Hey.
Yeah, it was a World War I battle. See if there's anyone talking. Oh, sorry. The Trojan War, the Trojan War, the Trojan War, the Trojan War. So basically, it's a legendary. It's actually a legendary war between Greeks and Troy, mainly in Greek mythology, especially Homer. And there was a siege of Troy as well, where they besieged it, then went around the city secretly. There's some good history as well. Same with Sarah and Ronald. Ronald. Hey, cool. That's cool. Kosovo Massacre. Whoa. I don't know much about that. It was in World War II. It was brutal. Brutal. It was the execution of over 1,000 people from the city of Krakow by the Germans. They rounded up all their people from 14 to even 60. They were shot with heavy machine guns. It was well, as the name is, massacre. But, yeah. I'm gonna mute for a second. Alright, I'm unmuted. I mute when there's no one talking. Just so you guys know, so I'm mute. Okay, we got a couple of questions. Great Pyramid of Giza construction. The Great. Okay, I'm back. The Great Pyramid of Giza construction. It was by Pharaoh Khufu in 2,600 BC, roughly 2.3 million. Okay, I'm back. The Great Pyramid of Giza was by Pharaoh Khufu, using 2.3 million stone blocks and completed over around 26 years. Okay. But basically, it remained the tallest man-made structure for 3,700 years, and also served as Khufu's tomb, and part of a larger complex. Why didn't Miguel I try to attempt to take the throne again? Who is Miguel I? I have no idea who that is, to be honest. To be honest with you. I'm gonna look him up after the stream ends. I will look him up. That way I can learn who Miguel I is. Miguel. Ring down, ding 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 ding. ivory figurine symbolism. Ivory figurine symbolism. They have a lot of those figurines. Those figurines have rich meaning across like a bunch of cultures. Like used for gods and spirits and sacreds and stuff, status, wealth, power, and magic. Yeah, they believed in magic, but more people should talk about Operation Chameleon. I think you mean Operation Chameleon. But I agree, people should talk about Operation Chameleon more. Operation Chameleon was just a sec. Basically, Operation Chameleon was a 2010 Colombian operation. I'll explain. I'll explain it. Operation Chameleon was a 2010 Colombian operation. They did a Colombian Special Force rescue mission that freed 4 hostages held over a decade by the FARC. And they saved them. They've been held for 12 years before Chameleon. Why did they call it Chameleon? Because they blended in and adapt and tried to infiltrate without being detected. Alright, checking the chat. There's nothing here. There should be something. Let me refresh. I'm on the chat. I'm on the stream because I know how to put my chat in OBS. What's your background? My background is the from the Salem witch trials. It's I forgot what it was called, but it was painted in around the 1590. 1590 was when it was made. Or torture witches. That's what it was called. But it was painted in the. It's a woodcut. It's yeah. Okay. I'm just trying to find some stuff in the chat. I don't think I have any. Wait. Alright. Explain the murder of Yearn and Eastfond Ungar. It was in 1996 in shooting of 2 people in Israel. That's all I know about the death of Michael Jackson. Michael Jackson died in 2009. He was one of the most famous people in back in those days, known for a bunch of music like Thriller, Beat It, stuff like that. That's basically what it is. Alright, I'm gonna mute for a second. 2015 data breach. Explain that in one word: hacked. Just one word: hacked. That's the simplest way I could put it. Just hacked. But I'll explain it more. The Walmart 2015 data breach was in Canada. It affected Walmart's Canada online photo center in July. They discovered a potential compromise of customer credit card data. COVID-19 pandemic. I lived through that. It was a global pandemic that changed health stuff. But the breach occurred. The malware was to collect customer payment information, including credit cards, names, email, passwords. It did not capture photos or PIN numbers. But it was a really big data breach. And they did fix it. But in one word: hacked. Hacked. That's the only way I can explain it. You guys excuse me. It's okay. Alright. Shout out to Hot Dog. Go subscribe to him. Go subscribe to that guy. 1926 massacre of Belarusians by the Polish cursed soldiers. Oh, I know the event. It was post World War murders in January and February 1946 in Poland. It was 79 and 87 were murdered between that. We don't know the exact number. What is the Shinjuku Station cyanide gas attempt? That was a terrorist attack. Basically, they planted a cyanide gas generator in the underground toilets of Shinjuku Station in Japan on April 30th, May 3, and May 5 of 1995. That was a long one.
Wait, what?
What, River? This message is held for review. Jersey Massacre. The Jersey Massacre. I don't know what that is, to be honest. I have no idea. I'm gonna look up that and Miguel one. Because I don't know who that is. Or what that is, I should say. Here's one you know. Murder Sherry. Oh. That was 1984. Basically, Sherry had a date, and her date didn't come. And Richard Bear and Jeffrey Burgess pulled up to her location. Now, the thing is, Sherry, Burgess, and Bear, they were known people in the area. So Sherry trusted them. And what happened was, they got into the car. Bear drove out to a cliff. And Sherry got out to do something. And then when she came back, Bear struck her in the head with a pistol and forced Burgess to drive away from the area. So that's all from Burgess's description. And to be honest, I don't think Burgess did anything. I honestly think Bear did it all. What happened to Edward V and Richard the Duke of York? Do you think Richard III or Henry VII did it? Henry VII. I honestly think Henry VII. Yeah, it's true that Richard III had him held illegitimate. But that doesn't change the fact that if he killed Edward V and Richard, Henry would blame him. And the thing is, Henry did destroy stuff from that kind of time period. He destroyed. And plus, the thing is, if Richard III killed killed Edward and Richard. Henry would blame Richard for that, and he never did. Plus, Henry needed the prince's god to secure his claim, and if Richard III did it, Henry would do a full search during his reign trying to find him, and he completely destroyed records from the 1480s, and he executed Perkin Warbeck. Warbeck staged Henry staged a confession, paraded him, and then executed him. They had to have been alive when Henry took the throne, because Richard executed adults. There were no executions of the kids, but Henry was known to execute kids as well. That's the thing, though. Yeah, Richard was good at this, but he would never kill kids. Warbeck did know a lot of private stuff, though, which makes me think he was Richard dead. The only thing we'll ever get to a tutor admitting the truth is Elizabeth I, who said in private it was done by my grandfather when talking about it. Homo sapiens spread to the Levant. Okay.
Was it likes?
Okay. So, they did it like 800 some years ago. They found the oldest known fossils inside Africa dates to that many years ago. And it was a gateway, pretty much. They found multiple episodes hundreds of thousands of years ago. Back then, the region was a green corridor full of wetlands and grassland. And they left Africa, pretty much. Noah's Ark landing tradition. Yo! I think I'll see some... Dude, Noah's Ark. Noah's Ark! In the Bible, God was angry at man for being so evil, and he wanted to punish him, or punish the earth, and he was gonna flood the land. Then he asked Noah to build an ark, save the animals, and his 3 sons, and their wife, and his wife. And Noah said yes, and built an ark. Now he was how old was Noah? I think Noah was 600 when the ark was built. No, he was 500, I'm pretty sure. And he was 600 when the flood was over. And he died when he was 900, I think. This is all from my head, so that could be fact check me on that. But he built an ark that looked cool. It was to save animals and stuff. And they had to repopulate through Japheth, Shem, and Ham, which was Noah's 3 sons. Genesis was the creation of Adam and Eve as first consulted humans, or ensouled humans. That's pretty much. Battle of Pavia, or something like that. Battle of Pavia. The Battle of Pavia was massively important, but hilarious. It was in the Italian Wars when Francis I of France was defeated and captured by the forces of Charles V. And France and the Habsburgs were fighting for control of northern Italy. Francis invaded to retake Milan, but Charles's forces trapped him near Pavia. And Francis was forced to sign the Treaty of Madrid, giving up claims to Italy, and he famously wrote, "All is lost except honor." That's what it is, basically. R versus Evans and McDonald. That was a 2012 US trial between Chad Evans and Clayton McDonald. In the trial, McDonald was found not guilty in the original trial. And then Evans went to jail for 5 years, served 2.5. A retrial has happened, and Evans was found not guilty. Battle of Roslyn. Why is River doing so many battles? I'm gonna mute for a second. Okay. So the Battle of Roslyn. Whoa. What was that? Okay. The Battle of Roslyn was the Scottish victory in the First War of the Scottish independence, where Scottish forces under John Comyn and Sir Simon defeated 3 separate English divisions through surprise attacks. They split into 3 outcomes, and the Scottish won. The Scottish did win that battle. That's pretty much. I'm going to end the stream soon since I have been streaming for 4 or 5 minutes. So I'm going to end the stream here. We'll do another tomorrow where we collab with River963. Bye guys. I'm going to end the stream here. Oh, one last thing. 1998 FIFA World Cup Match 16. The World Cup is a fun one. It was between Spain and Nigeria. And Nigeria won that. It was considered one of the best games of the entire tournament. And they were full of Spain's best players. Same with Nigeria. Spain scored early. Nigeria equalized it. Spain took the lead. Nigeria took the lead after. It was one of the biggest upsets of the 1998 World Cup. Alright, I'm going to end the stream here. Goodbye, guys.